Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we'll be back here at this construction materials plant. We're going to expand it a little bit more with our details, and I think we might finally be able to get this bridge that connects us to Mesa. So first, before we get started with connecting up to Mesa or anywhere else, let's first get into expanding our construction materials plant. And recently I've gone through and added a few more mods and assets that I've found on the Steam Workshop, so we'll be adding some of those details in here, such as a little bit more detail to this parking lot. And probably the biggest thing is this warehouse mod that I found, so we can add some larger buildings in some of our industrial areas that will just help them look a bit more formal, especially when we have all these storage areas and we need to make it look like they're being stored somewhere. We can't often get the default industry buildings to a size large enough that looks normal, so getting a warehouse somewhere over here, especially next to the train station, would definitely make sense. So first, let's come in here and flatten out a good portion of land where this warehouse will sit. Not too sure how big it will end up being, so let's flatten out a fairly decent sized area. So I think something about that would work pretty well. And then pretty much what we can do is come in here and pick sort of whatever base building that we like. I think we might go with something pretty plain to start with, so one of these buildings here. Alright, so let's go with this warehouse, and I think we might try to get it to look like it's attached to the train depot. So if we can figure out a way to get this connection to look pretty good, maybe we have to pull it back just a little bit and place it somewhere about here. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So after messing around a little bit, I think we'll roll with this. We can see we have a nice connection here where it's not cutting off the window or anything. This side looks a little off, but you won't really be able to tell from a distance anyway. So now what we can do is start to add some details to this, such as these docks here for bigger trucks, and maybe some garage doors dotted around. And then we can get some of these garage doors fitted probably about there. We can see what this looks like as of right now. I think we're going to first paint in a bunch of the asphalt, since all this would probably be paved anyway. So just doing that. It doesn't seem like we can really cover this area, but we'll do our best to mask it anyway, since it's on sort of a weird bump. Or maybe we could even just replace it, but I think we'll try to hide this bump once we get into the finer details. But for now, we can continue to paint, and maybe we'll get a little side road that comes up over this way, and then just have a little bit of asphalt on this side for sort of back of house things that usually gets hidden away on larger buildings like this. Alright, so I think this will pretty much just about do it for details for the warehouse. So we've added some main entry doors, a bunch of the gates, a little sort of side service gate area, some vents on the roof, and then some exit doors on the back here. So the only thing left to do now is all the smaller details that'll take place sort of in this parking lot truck area, and some of the stuff back here, and then the landscaping that comes around it. Alright, so I think this is what we're going to leave off with in this area. We added some bushes over here to cover up that bump and help just sort of distinguish which area belongs where. So we have sort of the train depot fenced in with bushes. We have the edge of these parking spots lined with some containers to add sort of a resolution to the way that's facing. We have a bunch of stored materials over here. We have a few trucks at this garage. We're not going to fill these ports up with trucks just yet, just because it is 1916, and I believe if we come in here, the only truck that really looks like it could fit is this truck, and this is probably the earliest one that we'll unlock. So maybe some of these, but I'm not too sure how realistic that is. Maybe we will just add one or two of these sort of backed up to these ports, and then later on in the future we'll come through once we have all of these bigger trucks unlocked, and we will populate the area with those. But moving on, we have a bunch of parking for trucks, and then all the way back here we have sort of the storage, dumpsters, and all that. So now the only thing really left to do is add a fence to close this whole warehouse in, and then put back some of the forest to help hide some of these edges. Alright, so here's what we have, and I think we're going to leave this as it is. There's not really too much more to do here, so we will leave this area and work on getting our construction materials over to the city of Mesa. So now, obviously the biggest issue we've had with this is the bridge that we're going to have span across here. And we have this bridge, which should be able to span all the way across here, and it'll look pretty good compared to some of the base game bridges. So first, let's sort of get this where we want it and make sure it's lined up to land where we want it. And I think we want it to land somewhere over here, which, now that I'm thinking about it, we might want to bring the track up first just to make sure we can even get to this height before we place the bridge, considering it's still going to cost a lot. So I think the way we're going to do this is start somewhere over here, and almost immediately we're going to have to start working our way up. So we'll make our way up the side of this cliff face, end up somewhere in this little plateau, where then we will attempt to get up to this level that runs along this cliff side here, where we can then wrap around this corner and bridge across into Mesa. So again, let's start with our tracks, and we can see here almost immediately we're going up as steep as possible. So I think let's first flatten out an area for us to get the connection made, so we have a little bit of an area where we can have this branch off nicely. So now that we have this, let's come and do something like that, and then something like that, and then from here we can start to slowly work our way up. So we'll place our first segment down something like this. We'll work with just this one rail for now, and then we'll come back and add the second rail later. So now that we're about here, we can continue to go up. And for all this, we'll just force it to use land, and we'll come back in and landscape it later on. And if we just drag it all the way over here, we can see that we sort of get to the height that we need, but I don't really like how close it is to the track here. So let's see if we could pull it over just a bit more. We also want to keep in mind how we're going to end up coming through this area. So we'll leave that as it is. Then next we will bring this over, and now's the hard part where we need to get up to this level for the track. So if we just drag our track over and try to get up here, we can see we get almost there. We're about 2/3 of the way in height. So I don't really want to make an unnecessary tunnel there, so let's flatten out a little bit of this for the track to just sort of come right in and sit right there. So hopefully we can see here we're just able to get up to the height that we need. And I think we'll change this bridge to a steel bridge. Or yeah, I don't really like the way that using just land works, so we'll do that, get it up to that height, and then from here we can almost just get up to the height that we need. And I think we'll just use this cut feature, and then we'll come through and make it look good once we're there. So we can see it follows along pretty well over here. And we'll just continue to follow along like this, where we'll bring it around this curve, and then this curve sort of following the edge here, but trying to keep our top speed up. And I think now we're at the point where we could probably get this bridge to fit. Alright, so now after messing around with this a little bit, I think we got at the perfect spot that we need it to be at. Maybe we need to move it over just a little bit. Let's see if we move this over. Looks like we can rotate this just a tiny bit more. So then hopefully we can get this both in frame. It looks like this lines us up pretty well, and all that we have to do is build it. So 157 million for this bridge. Very expensive, but it looks very nice in this area. So I did forget one thing. I forgot to add 2 sets of tracks instead of just 1 track. So we're gonna redo this real quick. And now we finally have this bridge down, and it looks really nice with 2 tracks and spanning the whole distance across here. So now all that's left to do is connect up this end of the track to the bridge. Let's see, we might want to pull this back just a little bit more, do something a little more like that. So there we can keep our top speed all the way up. So we'll place that like so. And then on this end, it looks like we still don't have enough height to make it over, but I'd much rather lower this cargo station than replacing this bridge. So now let's start leveling out an area for the cargo station. We'll probably have it somewhere over here along this edge. We might even raise this up just a tiny bit, since we will have just a little bit of distance from where the bridge ends and where the cargo station is, just to help with this extreme height difference. So finally we're able to place down our cargo station, and now we have a big mess that we have to clean up with landscaping and details and the roads in the city. So we'll get on that, and then we'll be right back once that's all sorted out. Alright, so I think this is the area that we're going to go with. We smoothed out this whole area to slope it down fairly reasonably towards the tracks, and then right around here there wasn't really much we could do since we are getting so close to the city center, so we just dropped this whole area down and then sort of fenced it off to ward off people trying to come closer. So this whole area just sort of sits down in this little divot in the city, and I think I'm pretty happy with everything we have here. We might just smooth out this little cliffside here, but other than that, I think we're ready to finish the track over on this side and then get a train running, connect it up, and we should be good. Alright, so the track's pretty much ready. I did forget about all the other landscaping stuff we still have to work out as we go along the tracks, so let's get that situated first, and then we'll start to get our train running. So for here, let's just flatten out a small area right where the track goes, and then just quickly give it a quick smooth. I think that's pretty alright. Over here is going to be a little tricky because I don't want to completely demolish this cliffside, but I do want the other side of these tracks to be smooth and good looking with the tracks that we have here. So we'll just flatten out an area along the tracks as we continue to go around, and then we'll just quickly click quick to smooth it. And of course we might have to do this a few times just to smooth out all the weird edges that we're getting. Alright, so now we have this whole sort of cliffside area smoothed out and looking pretty decent, especially through here, this big cut that we made. Then we have our bridge over this forest area, which pretty fine. Maybe we just smooth out where it meets the ground. And then we get to probably one of the worst sections of this, where we now have to make all of this look pretty decent. Alright, so I think this is what we're going to leave this area looking like. We filled this area with trees just because couldn't really get it to look good with the way the track automatically slopes the terrain in some areas, so all these trees help to sort of mask some of those issues. You can see a little bit of it right here, but I think this actually looks really good, and especially from a distance, you can't even really see any of the issues we've had before with it. So of course, now that we're going to get a train carrying even more construction materials, I think we need to come in here and replace all of these. I don't think we need to add more, I just think maybe just replacing them should do good. So if we do that, these should be traveling much quicker now. And of course, we'll probably have to do the same for these as well, so they're not holding up the other ones that we have. So we'll do that. And we should be ready to get a train rolling. So of course, with the type of track we have running, we're going to need the most powerful train that we have. So we definitely need to prioritize power over speed. And I think just looking at all these, this 282 Mikado is probably our best option. So we can take a look here, and maybe if we add 2, it doesn't look like it does too well on high slopes. So let me just figure something out, see if we could find something that works pretty well. Alright, so I think we found the train that's going to work best for us on this line, and that's going to be this Russian class YE with a top speed of 43 miles an hour, and we're going to have quite a few flat cars behind it, but we can see here under its power ratings it should be able to get up to top speed on flat and medium slopes, and high speed it will dip down a little bit, but not too much really. And I think we might even just add one more car on here and we'll roll with that for now. So we'll just do one and we'll keep it at one unless we see that we need more. So it looks like it routes correctly, and the only thing we have left to do now is add the truck line from here into the city of Mesa. So it looks like all the construction materials are in this area, so let's place this truck unload stop right here and then just connect these roads. And let's find a way where it will connect without creating too steep of a hill. So we can do something like that. And then of course we'll need a road depot somewhere, which we didn't really leave room for. However, we might be able to just sort of squeeze it over here, sort of on its own. I think maybe in the future we'll figure out a better spot for it, but now all we need is just a few trucks to take these construction materials into the city. So here, and then we'll set these to only move construction materials, where then they'll just unload right at the top of the hill. So now if we did this correctly, we should see our train beginning to bring construction materials over. So looking down here at our construction materials plant, we can see we're starting to get construction materials lined up and waiting to go. And taking a look here, it looks like we're getting just enough stone in for now. However, it looks like this industry might upgrade soon, so we might need to upgrade more of our trucks bringing stone in from the quarry. But for now, I think we'll just let our train run and we'll watch it go all the way up on this line that we've created, all the way up to the city of Mesa. So off it goes, and it splits off right here to head up the side of this cliff, which we can watch it do right now. It looks like it gets almost up to top speed before it even reaches the hill, which is pretty good. So I really like how this whole line ended up looking. I think there's a lot of really cool moments on this track, and I'm really excited to see what more the terrain has to offer us as we continue to build on this map. So next, here it comes, going over the bridge that leads it up to the side of the cliff. And I think this is really cool, especially seeing up here how it opens up and we have this little valley that cuts straight through here. And we can pretty much just watch this roll up the hill and come over to the edge of the mountain. So here it comes, and I think this provides a beautiful backdrop to our city of Downey. You can sort of see it. Everyone living down here can just look up and see the train going by. I think that's a really cool moment. And then pretty much heading straight into the bridge where it just spans this great distance over this huge gap. I think this is well worth the money that we put into it as we watch the train make its way over and deliver its first load of goods right into the city of Mesa. So anyway, I think that's really all we're going to do in this episode, so if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.